Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C Race and Strategy Guide. It's the week beginning 15th of August 2022. We are heading to the east layout of Autodrome Lago Maggiore, and just like last week we are once again in the Group 3 machinery. 15 laps to get around this shortened version of Maggiore. Tyre wear is pretty high at times 10, fuel just at the times 1. Both the racing medium and racing hard tyres available, both of which are mandatory for this one, so you must run at least one lap on both tyres, minimum. BOP is on, it is the low speed spec as well. I think it's the first time we may well have seen that. Damage is light, it's a formation start, and slipstream is real. And we have a fairly interesting prospect for Daily Race C here. Definitely some strategy involved with both of those tyres being mandatory and a pretty high tyre multiplier. Now before we move on to taking a look at that strategy, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an insight as into how I kind of formulate the strategy and sort of what I do to work out a few things before we get stuck into the test runs. And before we get into that, we will just mention the car that we're running, which is the Subaru BRZ GT300. Now with tyre wear at times 10 and those medium tyres to run, this is very much going to be about tyre wear. And the king of tyre wear at the moment is the Subaru BRZ. It might not necessarily be the fastest car over a lap, but it's certainly going to have an advantage over the race distance over many of the other Group 3 cars out there. So that is why we have chosen to do the test in this car. Now as I said, the way I kind of formulate or start to work out the strategy, particularly in settings like this where we've got the medium and hard tyres both available and both are mandatory, is to basically find out what kind of pace I can do on the hard tyres. I'll do 8 to 10 laps, look at my optimal lap time, look at the sort of lap times I'm doing in the hard tyres, and that pretty much becomes my crossover lap time for when we do the medium hard strategy. So the crossover lap time in this instance is a 1 minute 20.1. And basically what that means, I'm going to start on the medium tyres. I know what sort of lap time I can do in the hard tyres, so once my medium tyre pace starts to hit that crossover lap time, we know we will be faster on a fresh set of hard tyres, and we know it's time to come into the pits, because otherwise we are just kind of burning lap time that we don't need to be. So what sort of lap time or what sort of lap does that come into play on this run here? So starting on the mediums, we are now on to lap 7, so our crossover lap time is a 120.1, and we've kind of got there by lap 6, a 120.0. We are capable of going quicker than that on the hard tyres as per the pre-strategy run, but we're not, so far over it that I think it's critical to pit at this time. So we're coming to the second sector here on lap 7, so this will give us a good indicator how this lap's going to look. Over a second down on our best lap, probably going to lose 3-4 tenths over the course of this final sector as well, so we are looking at a 120.4, 120.5, so it's definitely time to come into the pits and get those hard tyres on, because the fresh hards are now going to be quicker than our worn mediums, and you can see just how worn these tyres are in the bottom left hand corner. That times 10 tyre wear really coming into effect. So into the pits we come. Nothing too complicated about the pit entry for this one. You come out the last corner on the left hand side of the track. The pit lane is on the left hand side. Just make sure you make that decision early enough, because if you kind of on the right hand side of the track decide to swing over into the pits as a last minute decision, you'll probably cross the white line and give yourself a 3-second penalty, and that's not going to be happy days. When it's all said and done, your pit loss is going to come in at about 19 seconds. Fuel only at times 1, fuel no issue whatsoever. I would like to have seen the fuel bumped up a little bit, maybe to times 3, just to make that kind of hard medium strategy that we're going to look at next a little bit more competitive, because usually the fuel burns off. It means you can run the medium tyres for a little bit longer, but it's not going to be the case for this one. So how's our hard tyres looking? Did we kind of get that kind of crossover lap time just about right? I would say so. 120.1 was the kind of lap time we were expecting to do on the hard tyres, and you can see we're kind of into the 19s for most laps and very low 1 minute 20s all the way through. The hard tyres holding up absolutely fine for the 8 laps that we asked of them, actually just getting faster and faster. So for the medium hard strategy, you're looking at pitting at lap 6 or 7 for your kind of optimal kind of pit stop time. The race distance, or the full race time, they're coming at 20 minutes 20.8, so very nice length of Daily Race C, and I should add very streamer friendly as well. Certainly not going to be a lot of waiting between races for somebody like myself who's streaming, and all you other folk out there who may well be streaming as well. So that's the first strategy down. Let's move on to the next one, which is basically the opposite of what we've just looked at. It's the one stop, and I'm going to start on the hard tyres this time and finish on the mediums. Now, normally, if we had a half decent fuel multiplier, you could at least expect to do one additional, maybe even 2 additional laps on the medium tyres, just purely through the car being a little bit lighter. What I tried to do in this one was do 9 laps on the medium tyres. Now, we did 7 laps on the medium tyres, and we're just about holding on for those 7 laps. But yeah, apparently asking 9 laps of them is just a little bit too much. So this sort of run is more like a demonstration on what not to do. Now, our 7th lap, which on the medium tyres, which is lap 13, was a 120.8. Now, we did definitely make a mistake on that lap. It cost us around about half a second, so I would say that being closer to a 120.3. But what did happen on laps 14 and 15 is the tyres just went completely off the cliff. 121.4, I think we finish here for 121.8. 9 laps on the medium tyres is just too much to ask you. Probably looking at doing maybe 8 laps on the hard tyres and then 7 laps on the medium tyres. At a push, maybe 7 on the hards, 8 on the mediums, but don't go asking any more than 8 laps maximum. I think for most people, 7 laps is even going to be a push, so yeah. Just turned out that, you know, we just cannot push. The way the tyres go off the cliff is, you know, quite dramatic. Actually really did take me by surprise, and yeah. And my advice to you is do not push the medium tyres for any more than 7 laps. So let's just do a quick recap of what we've learned from looking at the strategies there. We looked at the medium hard strategy. We did 7 laps on the mediums, 8 laps on the hard tyres. I think 7 laps is the maximum you'll be able to ask of the mediums on that strategy. I think depending on the car, your driving style, your input device, you might not get as many as 7 laps. I think you might even see some people getting as little as 5 laps out of the medium tyre. So that pit window is going to be between lap 5 and 7 depending on, you know, factors like the car you're driving, your driving style, your input device, etc. The hard tyres will have no issue doing 9-10 laps, whatever you ask of them. They will just keep the pace all the way to the end, as I think we were kind of able to demonstrate quite nicely. Looking at if you're going to start on the medium tyres as well, I think you maybe only want to be kind of starting on the medium tyres towards the very, very front of the grid. Now, after 3-4 laps, the medium tyres, as they degrade, are going to kind of not have that much of a performance advantage over the hard tyres. So if you're in the middle of the pack, you're just not going to get any benefit from running those medium tyres. I think most people are going to start this race on the hard tyres, so only if you're up in the top 3 positions, that's the only time I would consider starting on the medium tyres. Looking at the opposite strategy, starting on the hard tyres, finishing it on the mediums, I think you're going to have to run those hard tyres till at least lap 7 for most people. 8 laps is the absolute maximum I think you'll be able to ask of the medium tyres, and again, depending on your car, your driving style, your input device, 8 laps is going to be on some people and some cars, so you could be well going as far as lap 9 for some people on the hard tyres, and then finishing with a little bit of a flourish on the medium tyres at the end. But I think that's all we need to discuss on the strategy. Definitely an interesting race in prospect. You're going to see all sorts of things coming together towards the end. Some people are going to be struggling on their medium tyres, some people are going to be struggling probably even in the hard tyres towards the end, so it should lead to some fun and games and probably some shenanigans as well. Okay, so I've definitely blabbered on enough about strategy. Let's finish with a lap guide. Subaru BRZ down towards turn number 1. You're looking for the Italian flag colour tyre wall on the left hand side. End of that is a good braking reference for turn 1. Take plenty of care, try to keep the car to the left hand side to give yourself the best angle for turn 2, and put the car over that yellow curb to take the shortest line possible. A little bit of a lift as you go through turn 3 here to again try to get the car over to the left hand side. Tricky little corner this one, particularly in the BRZ in cockpit view because you can't see the apex, but try to get the car in nice and early because you've got a straight that sort of leads down to another tricky corner. You're looking for the grey curb on the left hand side. The end of that is your braking reference into this kind of downhill, weirdly cambered, then uphill corner. Important to carry the speed up through that one. as it's an uphill section into the S's we come now. It's all about exploiting the track limits, keeping the momentum up, and as you come out this part here, getting on the throttle and carrying that speed all the way up the hill to the last corner of the track, which is the hairpin. And for the hairpin, you're looking for the 100-metre board. You can brake maybe about 5, 6, 10 metres after that, depending on how good you are on the brakes. Careful of the sausage curb on the inside of the hairpin, the car will not like that. And again, careful on the exits, the car can have a tendency to understeer, get out on the grass and maybe even spin you off. But that's a lap of Lago Maggiore East in the Subaru BRZ, a 119.0. There will be far better lap guides out there over the course of today or tomorrow, depending on when you're watching the video. Do check them out to get some far more detailed information than I am putting out there. But yeah, all in all, I'm very much looking forward to this race, I have to say. I like the track. It's group free, there's a bit of strategy in there. There's going to be some people dying on tyres towards the end, there's going to be some close racing. I think this track and car combination's pretty much got it all, you know, overtaking opportunities as well. Should be good fun. Certainly going to live stream this a number of times over the course of the week. Try some different cars, have some fun, have some good racing, as we always do. Do join me for that if you can. If you've liked what we've done here in the video, if you found it in any way useful in some way, shape or form, please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.